Well then, Jaguar. A lot of people been talking about this brand in the last month, and let's be honest, hasn't really been good, has it? In fact, as rebirths go, I think Jaguars might be one of the least successful of all time. So much so, I have no doubt in saying that in 20 years' time, people will be citing this as their Ratner moment. Anybody outside of Britain, feel free to Google it and have a chuckle on me. And a lot of people have asked what my opinion is on this whole debacle, but the fact is, I haven't made the video up until now because if I did, it really would have felt a bit like kicking a pensioner while they were down, stealing their stick and throwing it in a local sewer. However, something did dawn on me, which is really rather significant. And as far as I can tell, nobody else has mentioned yet. So today, let's discuss the one really important part of Jaguar's rebirth that nobody is talking about, but is actually the key to their survival. And if come the end of this video you agree with me, hit that like and subscribe button. We just hit 400,000. Thank you very much. And yeah, tell me if you agree. So then, assuming you've not been in a backwater part of Alpha Centauri for the last 200,000 years, you already know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Jaguar's bold rebrand, in which they basically repurposed what looks like an old Sony Bravia TV advert, threw some meaningless nonsense 21st century marketing slogans at you, and then decided the best thing to do would be not only to not show you the new cars they're working on, but to delete any and every mention of all of their previous cars on their social media channels. They hit the reset button, and not in a good way. As a result, just about anybody and everybody took to social media to laugh at them. And to be honest, they deserved that. I have no idea why exactly they thought it was going to be a good idea, but it wasn't ever. And I'm not really going to get into it any more than that because, to be honest, you've seen the advert, you know what a dumpster fire it is, it's terrible, it's tragic. Look, as car people go, I'm a bit of a weird, wokey, left-leaning type anyway, I will admit that, and I think it was a bunch of complete and total tosh that has no place on our screens whatsoever. It was just daft. But a little bit after that, maybe to try and claw back a bit of kudos and reputation, Jaguar then released a few teaser images, and eventually something a bit more, of their concept car, the Project 00. Exciting name, but actually also ultimately meaningless. I mean, first off, I'm not really sure that I like what it is that they're trying to do. Secondly, I don't know what connection it has to Jaguars of the past, and for me, the very best automotive design is that which takes inspiration from a company's past without simply copying and pasting. That's a very easy trap to fall into. But this new thing, the concept car, well, no one's ever going to buy that. So it doesn't matter if you think it's the best and coolest thing ever, because the real deal is just not going to look like that. Concept cars come in many different flavours, some of which are very close to production ready. But that Project 00, that clearly is not production ready. Now, the implication seems to be, while all of this is going on, that Jaguar are trying to move themselves upmarket. They have tried before to sell lots of cars, and it hasn't really worked. The memory of the X-Type haunts them to this very day, even though it wasn't actually all that bad a car. Instead, they're going to go what I think could be a smarter route. They're going to become a more bespoke brand. They want to chase high margins, not high volumes. They want a little bit of that pie that companies like Lamborghini have been enjoying with the Urus. After all, you and I both know it's just a tarted up RSQ8. But people are still queuing up to buy the damn thing, and it's making Lamborghini so much money, it's effectively secured their future with Audi Group for the next 10 or 20 years at least. Jaguar themselves have a wonderful and rich heritage, a great brand name, but for the last 10 years, they've had a lineup that not only hasn't really changed, but also it's featured the kind of cars that people don't really buy en masse anymore. People don't buy saloons, people don't really buy estates. Yes, they buy SUVs, but Jaguar's problem has been the fact that for the last, 2 decades or so, it's been nailed to the side of Land Rover. And if you're going to buy a nice SUV, you may as well buy a Range Rover. From what I understand, the new cars the company are developing are all built on a platform bespoke to Jaguar. So at least there's that. They're not just going to be making rehashed Range Rovers. And I'm very glad for that, because not only do I not really like the idea of a Jaguar SUV, but Lotus tried to reinvigorate the brand with a nice big expensive electric SUV, and it hasn't gone all that well. In fact, the review that I did of one, the owner had suffered total and complete electrical failure with it, and then when my good friend Ben drove a press car, that spent 2 days on his driveway broken down, with nobody able to fix what turned out to be a rather simple problem. And it is actually that experience which in part led me to make this video. Because whatever Jaguar comes out with next, I'm sure a few people are going to be tempted to buy it. Now, it's going to be a hard sell, because whatever they do come out with is likely to be all electric and very expensive. And unfortunately, Jaguar have sensationally poor timing. This must be one of the worst points in the last decade to try and release an expensive EV. Heck, an EV of any description. Porsche dealers can't give Taycans away, and if you've already got one, my life, they certainly don't want the thing back. I hear of scarily large discounts on the Rolls-Royce Spectre. Even though everybody loves the car, it's still just too much money, and Rolls-Royces depreciate pretty effectively anyway. A Rolls-Royce EV? Ooh, good luck if you've got one of those. Although if you do have one of those, you probably don't need the luck, do you? So, where am I going with this? Well, simple really. You speak to anybody and everybody that's had either a Jaguar or a Land Rover product over the last 2 decades or so, and ask them what their issues have been. Now, in terms of the car itself, you'll get all sorts of reports, and as ever it will range from, yeah, was fine, was great, to I hardly ever saw it. But there is one constant in all of this. The dealers. JLR dealers are atrocious. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they managed it. It is a triumph of British incompetence. JLR dealers are some of the worst in the world. They are slow, they are rude, they are incompetent. To give you one example, I went to one with a friend who was thinking of changing their car, and they gave them back Part X prices on the wrong car. His was a top-of-the-line, all-singing, all-dancing one, and they gave the Part X value of a base model worth about half as much. When problems do happen, they don't communicate with their customers. They aren't very clear about what it is that they've actually done, whether it's really been worth the time, effort, and everything else that has been involved. And this is a problem if your cars are generally reliable. If they're not, this is a serious issue. Because you see, a car is an expensive thing. For the majority of people, it is either the most or the second most expensive thing you'll ever purchase. And let's face it, if you're going to walk into a dealership about to part with a lot of money, knowing full well that there's a good chance much of it you're never going to see again, you want to be treated nice, don't you? You want to be made to feel special. You want the, hello sir, hello madam, how can we help you? Would you like an espresso? How about a gin? Trips to America? This is the kind of stuff that Jaguar should have been doing anyway with their existing lineup, but they didn't. I don't know exactly how they got themselves into this scenario, but it's been a very, very long time since I heard anything really good about a Jaguar dealer. Now, I'm sure they must exist. I hope that they exist. But the simple fact is that if Jaguar wants their products going forward to have a chance, they've got to sort out the customer experience. Take a leaf out of the Lexus book. They conquered the United States because not only did they build an excellent product, but they knew the key element was keeping the customers happy. You solve problems before the customer even knows they are a problem. You approach them and invite them to things. You act like they've already spent money even if they haven't already. You make them feel like they're a part of your family and that that's a family that they want to be a part of. In other words, you reward people for spending loads and loads of cash with you. It seems blindingly obvious, but in a future where all cars appear to be increasingly homogeneous and everybody is going to be driving about in some dirty, great big electric thing, well, there are fewer and fewer ways to differentiate your experience from somebody else's. And as a car company, I think making sure that the customer is happy with the service they receive is going to be absolutely key. Because I'll tell you something right now, Jaguar's rebrand, that silly advert, the daft new logo, people can and will get over that. The Project Double Nought, the fact they released it in pink and blue, nobody really is going to care. But they will care about what the real car that they might be able to buy looks like. And Jaguar, remember, by the way, you're not just going to be selling the idea of this car to the people that can afford to buy it new, because it will depreciate. So even if it's £200,000 today, it's going to be £70,000 in 3 years when the next buyer comes to get it. So have them in mind already. Have an idea of how you're going to treat them and make them feel just as special as the first owner. Because ultimately, if this car comes out and it breaks, and people are treated like dirt, well, that will be the end of Jaguar. They've still got an opportunity here, an amazing, interesting and exciting opportunity because, like it or not, people are talking about the company. So this is their chance, this is their moment in which they can strike and do something really quite special and revive what is one of my favourite automotive brands. But if they can't get a lid on their customer service, it's what killed Lotus for me in the past. It's what's currently still killing Lotus because they've learned absolutely nothing. And in many ways, it's actually worse than it's ever been. But if they can get that bit right, and it's a human thing, well, that could be something very special indeed. Thing is, though, I'm not sure if they can. Answers on a postcard. Oh, what do you think of the new setup in here? I quite like it. Anyway, thanks to everybody for watching, and a Happy New Year. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.